All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Kitsap Public Facilities District to order here on Monday, April 26, 2021. I'd like to start us with a question tonight. The question is for all the board members, what do you miss most about pre-COVID life? What do you miss most about pre-COVID life?
Hey, can I chime in? Mike,
Yeah.
It looks like Pat's over in the attendees.
Oh, is he stuck over there again?
He's stuck over the attendees.
Nice catch.
Gets that every time. I looked there earlier and he wasn't there, so snuck in while I wasn't looking.
Phil, I'm gonna have you start us off.
Oh, okay. I think there's two things, both kind of, non-essential, but one is just going out to restaurants and being able to hang out with people there. And then the other thing is just traveling. I really miss that. And that was when my kids and I and my wife, we were really able to, it's hard to bond with teenagers, but when you're on a trip with them, it's, it's you experiencing new things with them. So yeah, it was really good to be able to do that. And so I would say that's the thing I miss the most.
All right. Who's up next?
I'll go.
Oh,
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. So on the travel theme, my wife's family has a summer place in Canada that we historically have spent weeks and weeks and weeks, sometimes taking 2 or 3 trips a year up there. And we haven't been there since 2019. And given the current situation, it doesn't look like we'll be there in 2021 either. But miss that.
That's a tough one. John.
There's been a lot of things that I've enjoyed, including taking pictures like you see behind me. But I think one thing I miss the most, and it probably just because it dawned on me this weekend, attending in-person sports. I'm an avid Sounders fan and watching them play on Sunday. And some people got in. I'm not a season ticket holder, but I'd love to be able to get back and see them in person.
Where, just to give you the opportunity to flex, where is that photo from?
So this is Hidden Lake Lookout. Last summer, I don't have any new pictures, but last Thursday I was at the top of Mount St. Helens.
Wow. Aaron, how about you?
I think it's just, I'm actually, you're going to laugh, not a super social person, but being able to just go out and grab a cup of coffee sitting at a table in front in the sun without a mask on, and just spending that time people watching. Now we grab the coffee and jump back in the truck and drink it. But yeah, just the ability to just spend some time with people.
Walt?
Well, for me, I would echo what someone earlier said about travel. I live by myself, so I travel quite a bit. I had to cancel a big trip last April. I was going with a lady friend from here to Norfolk for a wedding, and then we were flying to England to visit one of my sons, and then back to Orlando to visit my sister, and then back here. And all that got canceled. So now I have $7,200 in airline credits. And I'm so cheap that I shop each leg separately. So my $7,200 were divided between Delta, American, British Airways, and Norwegian Air. So I figure I can use the Delta and American, probably the British Airways. I don't know what I'm going to do with the Norwegian Air.
That's great. Pat? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I just miss going out and being around people. I'm not a super homebody, and not being able to go out and be around people is difficult. It really is. And I'm so tired of wearing a mask. I really am.
My family's answer for this question would be what they miss most from pre-COVID days is me getting a haircut. So as you notice, the hair has grown longer and longer. It's my COVID lament. And John and Phil don't even know me from when my hair is usually shorter. So that would be their answer. My answer is just the connection with people, whether it is like hugs or going out to eat or inviting people over and just having a meal together. I got to preach for the first time this past Sunday with people in a room after 14 months of being on a screen. Oh my goodness, is it so much better to be with people and to feel the connection, to be able to read your audience rather than talking to a screen. So those are the things that I miss from our pre-COVID days. Mike?
Yeah, I've got the same lament, if you will. I was always the member of 2 or 3 different chambers. I was out in the community for the YMCA, obviously out for the PFD. So yeah, I'm a handshaker, a hugger, a pat on the back, a face-to-face, let's talk and work it out kind of guy. So yeah, here I am in the audience in front of a screen and, alone in the office. It's creepy.
All right, Brian?
So I've enjoyed listening to everyone's response, and I think I can empathize with most of them, other than you, Darren, because I don't preach. But I think the thing I've missed the most is family interaction. Ann and I had 2 new grandsons last year, and it's just been so hard to see them, whether it's we're worried about, are we going to expose them, or, their parents are worried about, are they going to, expose us to something? And so it's just, the safe answer's always been, well, let's just not get together. And we do FaceTime and so on, but, you just miss that human connection with little babies. So that's my gripe.
Well, here's to hoping that we get to do all those things again pretty soon. Let's move on to public approval of minutes. If you've had opportunity to read those minutes, could I have a motion to approve?
So made.
Thank you, John. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from our meeting on Monday, March 22nd, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All those opposed say nay, or any abstentions? All right, the meetings have been approved. Public comment. For those of you who are attendees, we do like to give public comment to anybody who is here with us. We ask you to keep it within 3 minutes. If you would be interested in that, please just raise your hand, hit your hand emoji. Give everybody a second, just in case you're not familiar with finding that hand. Just on the bottom of the screen, little raise hand thing there. All right, well, not seeing any public comment. So we'll move on to item number 4, a regional project update, our Port Gamble Heritage Park modification of the ILA. And Brian, I have your name on here, but it looks like we have Eric Baker. Maybe to explain again exactly what that is. Do we need another update on that?
No, Brian will present the information about the ILA change, and
Okay.
Eric will have the chance to comment after if necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So in a nutshell, for the county and their planning process for the Port Gamble Heritage Park, are like our other partners, and last year is a lost year. Things that they hoped to get done didn't get done. The county, through its representative Eric Baker, has approached us and said, we'd like to take all of the dates that are in the existing ILA and move them out 1 year. So if there was something to be done in 2021, we want to move it to 2022. If there's something to be done in 2022, we want to move it to 2023. There's no substantive change to what doing or business terms. It's just moving timelines out a year. Our other partners have made similar requests, which the board has approved. So hopefully this is an easy ask for the board. I told Eric I would just present it because I think I could do it in about 60 seconds, and he'd be available if there are any questions.
All right. Well, Eric, I'll give you a chance just to say anything that you'd like, and then we'll have questions from the board if they have any.
No, thank you very much. Brian did an excellent job describing the circumstances.
All right.
We really thank the Public Facilities District.
Sounds good. We thank you. Then board members, could I have a motion to approve this modification to our ILA with the Port Gamble Heritage Park project?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Aaron. And a second?
I'll second.
And then is there any discussion or questions that you'd like to ask?
This one, and you mentioned it, we had similar requests from the other two projects. What does this do to our timetable that we have to refinance a portion of our bonds? Is that still this year, or does that?
Yes, that doesn't change what happened 10 years ago when the bonds were first sold and then refinanced in 2011. So they still come due in 2026. And if we want to refinance them in a non-taxable bond replacement, that has to be done sometime after September of this year.
So what we're doing now, extending these project timetables, that really doesn't impact what we need to do and when we need to do it with regard to our bonds.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion or questions for Eric or Brian? All right, thank you. It seems like
who did you select as the person that seconded? There were a couple of answers.
Oh, I don't know. Someone else with a better memory.
I tried to second it.
Okay, we'll give it to Walt. Sounds
Thank you,
good.
Walt.
All right, then all those in favor of the changes, the modification to our ILA with the county for the Port Gamble Heritage Park, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, for new business under item number 5, we have an update and from Visit Kitsap, and then we'll need to approve or take a motion to approve the extension of the agreement. But first, let's bring in Patty and allow her to share with us her news. Oh, you're muted.
There. How's that? Better?
Wonderful.
Better.
So, yes, after 12 years, and I really want to say thank you to the Kitsap Public Facilities District. Mike and I have actually been roommates, I think, for 10 of those years, haven't we, Mike? In the old building, and then luckily I got a couple years in this beautiful new office, thanks to the partnership with the Kitsap Public Facilities District. It's just been fabulous. Good economics. We've been able to share a lot of the space, and so it's been a very, very successful partnership. But we just could not have done all the work that we did and achieved the success we have over the last 12 years without the Public Facilities District. Through thick and thin, you folks have really been there for us. You've constantly been supportive of us unwaveringly, and I think that partnership really enabled us to help build the reputation and the good work that the Visit Kitsap Peninsula does, because you're so highly regarded and so well respected. So having such a highly regarded organization as an ongoing partner and funder of the Visit Kitsap has been very, very helpful to us in our mission to promote tourism and the economic development of the tourism industry in Kitsap. So I want to thank you very, very much for this many years of your support. And I am happy to say that my replacement is Beth Javens, who is highly experienced, has been executive director of numerous organizations, and she takes over the helm on May 1st. And
Wow.
I will be hitting the road with my husband for an extended trip to visit family and friends on the East Coast. And so Beth gets my phone with my phone. And I'm leaving.
Which never stops ringing.
And I'm leaving her with all of the contacts on the phone, my contact list. So that way she'll know everybody who calls. So anyway, I'd like to introduce Beth and let her say a couple words.
Thank you, Patty. As Patty said, I'm Beth Javens. I'm the incoming director for Visit Kitsap Peninsula. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm sorry to see Patty leaving, but I think absolutely with your help and support, as she mentioned, she's done such an outstanding job in bringing the Visit Kitsap Peninsula Destination Marketing Organization through an evolution and creating such a strong organization with great partners. And, it's really with that support from your organization too, that we can, continue to evolve the organization and be competitive in the region. And I think I saw some mountain biking single track plans in some of those previous slides that you presented there earlier for a park. And we know that there are going to be a lot of local and regional and national and international audiences that are going to be traveling, and we're going to be very competitive in making sure that we can attract those visitors. And so the support that you're giving the VKP and the collaboration is really important, and we're very grateful for that. And I am really looking forward to working with all of you going forward. So thank you so much.
Well, welcome, Beth, and thank you, Patty, for all of your good work through the years and for promoting Kitsap County and benefiting our whole community financially. So we appreciate that. So thank you, and enjoy the trip and all the fun afterwards and not having that phone.
Yes.
So Mike, would you like to update us on the extension of the agreement and maybe just a quick history for new board members too?
Sure. Let me bring that up quickly. We have had an agreement with the Visit Kitsap organization, as Patty had indicated, for 10 years or more. This particular agreement was actually negotiated and signed in 2020 and had a continuation clause, which said that if we wanted to continue into 2021, we could do that. And so I exercised that option, if I get here. And Patty and I signed this agreement earlier this year during the COVID times. And Patty has supplied us with a 2021 marketing proposal in which she had said the things that she would do in conjunction or in place of us in marketing and promotion. Down here in the very bottom of this, it also says the VKP will provide professional guidance as needed in the development of the new KPFD website, which includes providing content, existing photography, and text to help demonstrate the contribution of KPFD funded facilities to Kitsap's tourism hospitality sector and larger retail economy. So this set the stage for one of the things that the board had asked about or asked for and had been on my list for a while to get started. And it was started earlier this year. And Patty will give us some more detail about that. But the proposal basically has been extended, or the agreement has been extended, and Patty and I have signed it. We just are looking for the blessing of the board in order to ratify that so that we continue on into the future.
All right, with that information, Mike, am I understanding that we don't need a motion on this? Is that what you're saying?
No, I would appreciate it if you would vote and basically ratify what Patty and I have done. The extension could go forward without it, but I think at this point that would provide some stability for Beth going into the future.
All right. Questions from the board? Any discussion?
So the amount of money is the same we've been paying for quite a while, right? We've been doing $2,000 a month.
Correct.
Okay.
And I noticed when looking through the financials, I assume the line item 5419 is where we pay this out of, Mike. Is that correct? It's got an annual budget of 24,000.
Let's see.
Professional services, right?
Yeah, it's under 5419. That's correct.
Okay.
Professional services.
When I look at 2020, it didn't look like we expended any of that funds. Looks like so far this year we've already expended 8,000. Do we know what? I guess my question might be directed towards Patty. What are we spending on? And I think 2 of the 3 are still not operating yet. Do we anticipate that we'll get our facilities back up and fully operational?
You say 2 of the 3 are not operating?
Well, I believe there's still.
No, yeah. I'll show you a little later on in the reports, the monthly reports we get from the conference center and from the fairgrounds do show now that there is increasing activity and dollars coming in at both facilities. And they are booking for 2022 fairly actively. So there is life coming back into both of those facilities, certainly not at the level that they were before COVID.
And I'm happy to respond to if John wishes.
Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
great. I think I'll have a follow-up question for Mike. Go ahead, Patty. Thank you.
I think that the reality is we have continued all of our services, whether it's the website and marketing. We're still printing the visitor guide, and we're still in the conference center, fairgrounds. Everything we do has really been designed to continue to make sure that all the facilities are still on the radar, even though, because it's really not any fault of theirs that the restrictions were put in place, but we wanted to continue to make sure that prospects that would normally be considering those facilities understand that those facilities are eager for them to return. So we have continued to maintain our marketing. We were just allowed to resume radio advertising for the region, but the commissioners were pretty adamant that we not engage in inviting out of area people until the restrictions were allowed. So we continued to advertise in regional publications, travel publications, etc. But we also continued with parks in particular, even though the fairgrounds, we weren't able to really market that. We continued to market Parks and Rec and various activities associated with Parks and Rec. And to keep them on the radar, whether we were using Facebook or our brochures. So I think that's where, we couldn't do a lot of advertising for the conference center, but they are still in our visitor guide, and we are just getting ready to print another 20 or almost 30,000 of those because we're starting to get such a demand for those, and the conference center is in that publication.
Excellent. And I think the only other question I have for Mike is, I think if I read right, and I just happened to notice this as I'm looking at the financials for earlier, it's $2,000 a month. 3 months in, we have $8,000 on the books for this year.
Part of that was when we start up again at the beginning of each year, we effectively wind up front-end loading a little bit because January and February all get billed at the same time, and we also, I think, got a December charge in that as well. So we're $2,000 ahead of the curve, but because we wind up without a charge in December, that evens out at the end of the year.
Well, Mike, you pay in advance, so you're paid. The 4 is paid through the end of May, because typically we get the rent at the 1st, but because the way it's set up on the county, they just pay us. So that may also be a factor as well.
Isn't this an automatic deduction for us? It's automatically paid every month?
Yeah, it's set up on a recurring payment with the accounts payable folks. I have to file the paperwork at the beginning of each year in order to set it up so that it's paid automatically, since it's a standard payment, the same every month, rather than putting it into the packet to get charged and we have to cut a check and so on. Once this agreement is in place, I can set it up so that it happens automatically, and they just cut a check to VKP. But that does have to be renewed in December each year.
For clarity, there are 2 payments in case that has gotten confusing for anybody. There is a $2,000 payment, which is for the services that VKP provides us and event fund for promotion of the different event centers that we have here. And then the second payment is for rent. And so that is line item 5451B. Is that both accurate, just to have someone else verify that, and just to clear up any confusion for the front end payments that Patty had spoke of, that those are two different payments?
Correct.
As leaseholder, I will tell you that is absolutely correct, because we wouldn't be in this space if it weren't for sharing the lease agreement. We just happened to sign it, but yeah, but we picked out the space together.
And then I just had a question on the recitals. It lists the different projects, and the one called Kitsap Special Event Center, is that the North Kitsap one?
On the
agreement itself, it lists.
in the agreement itself, okay.
Yeah, it lists the projects by name and.
Oh, you mean on mine?
Yeah.
On your agreement, yes.
Okay, let me, because in fact, I was going to mention that one of the things that I've been working on, I have been assisting with.
Keep going up, Mike. Sorry, keep going, Patty. No, Mike, on the front page of the 2021 agreement between KPFD and VKP. Okay, sorry, Patty, keep going.
Okay, so, Mike, you have it in there. Do you have it in there twice?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just. Sorry. Let's let him get to the front page.
Where are we?
Okay, right there. Whoop,
Right
stop.
there.
There
Okay.
we go.
So we've got the Kitsap Regional Conference Center, which is Bremerton, correct?
Yep.
Right, City of Bremerton.
All right.
Kitsap County and Kitsap Special Event Center. And I was just trying to make sure I understood what project that is.
Mike, that's yours. Sorry, but.
We got Bremerton, Kitsap County.
That's the one under the Bremerton. Keep up, right there. You got it. Up, down. So which project's that?
Yeah, that's the fairgrounds. It's supposed to say Kitsap Fairgrounds and Event Center. Early on, it was called the Special Event Center, but Patty hasn't updated her text since then. No, it should be the Kitsap Fairgrounds and Event Center, and I'll correct that. Yeah, it's correct down here in this other whereas.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question about the agreement. Is this our paper? Did Brian write this, or where did this come from?
Yeah, you were breaking up a little, Tom. I didn't get all of that.
Is this our agreement? Did Brian write this?
He's asking if Brian wrote this. Where did this document come from?
Oh, it was combination. Brian wrote part of it, and Patty, I think, prepared the draft, and Brian added some things to make it ours.
Well, I don't think I wrote the legal thing. I don't believe that I wrote that.
But yeah,
Let me jump in here. This document is a document we've used
For 10 years.
over the years. So I did put the original document together. It may have changed some of the structure together.
So should it get one last review, Brian, to make sure it's current?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a fair thing, because I don't think I've seen this in a while. So sure, I should look at it one more time.
Any other questions?
As long as it's going through an additional review, should our ILA with the Port of Bremerton also be listed there on the first page? It seems like all of our projects where we're participating are on there except for that one.
In the whereases?
Yes.
Well, yeah, it needs to be updated. It is there. KPFD in the city of Bremerton regarding the Kitsap Regional Conference Center. Well, you dropped the regional out. We're talking about the same thing. So, yeah, that wording needs to be updated.
No, I'm talking about our ILA with the Port of Bremerton out at the Circuit of the Northwest.
Oh, no, that has not been entered, put into this because we haven't entered into that third ILA or the ILA for phase 3. Prior to that, we were in phase 2, and that's as far as the agreement went until we updated that ILA and voted the additional funding. So it wasn't included in here. This was drafted actually in 2019 for 2020.
Well, so my question is it okay without it, or should it be added?
That's a Brian question.
I mean, it is a project that VKP will be working to sell on the rest of their marketing material.
If you want, you can just say all Kitsap public facilities districts projects and properties. And that would include any future properties or projects that you may enter into for Parks and Rec or something, just a suggestion.
Well, why don't we just let Brian work it over? I mean, he's heard this discussion, so he knows what the issue is.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I can barely read the print on this on my iPad, so I'm not going to chime in one way or the other as what should be where. Let me look at that in the context of the review that you're asking me to do.
Let's,
I have a quick question on it too.
yes.
Because under payment, we get monthly invoices from VKP. Do we actually get monthly invoices?
Yeah.
Do they invoice us every month?
We do provide highlights. We have a highlight document that we provide to Kitsap County and to our other donors that includes all of the different services that we offer, and that it's updated every single month. And we have that as a standard document that would include all the work that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a problem. Just if this says you have to do invoices and we don't need them, then we shouldn't have it in there.
Oh, okay.
Even section 3 or whatever, it says you're supposed to provide invoices. If we don't do it, is it 3? Go up to number 3. I mean, if you don't need to do that, we probably shouldn't have that in there, right?
Yeah, we can modify that. What they typically provide to us is a payment acknowledgement that they've received the payment, but they don't send us an invoice. Correct? We can remove that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've used this automatic process for the last 6 or 7 years.
Are there any other questions or updates that you see in this document that you'd like to, get fixed as Brian revisits it? Okay. In that case, let's let Brian look at that. Let's let Mike and Patty look at that again, and then let's bring it back next month, and rather than give approval to a document that has a lot of changes that are going to be made For the second part of new business, the demo of the new KPFD.org website.
Now it's the fun part.
All right.
Yeah, this is where the
This is
fireworks
the fun
start.
part. So you let me know when do you want me to proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good. I get to share my screen. First, I'd like to just quickly tell the board why I'm involved in your website. First of all, I did the original website with Ann Blair. And I'm not even going to tell you how long ago that was. Anyway, and also because of my extensive relationship with the Public Facilities District and the web design team that we use, fabulous design team on Bainbridge Island, Interlock Solutions. We wanted to make sure that the website that was going to be developed was really going to be responsive to be responsive to, be flexible to meet your changing needs with all the different projects you're going to be doing. So it was just I told Mike that I would be happy to work with the design team because I have a really good understanding about helping, creative services and marketing services to make sure that you were, getting a new website that was really going to be useful, functional, especially your new one. So your old one, so I'm going to share the screen right now. You have disabled it, Mike. It says Mike has disabled it. Host is disabled.
Hang on.
You let me know when you're ready for me. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing. That's what it says, Mike.
There, I think you should be able to now.
There you go. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I forgot you have to be elevated to the level of co-host.
Oh, I do.
To be able to share.
So everybody tell me, can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? And it's your old site, right?
Oh, I thought this was the new one.
I'm showing the old one first. Okay.
Yes, that's the old site.
I just want you to flip through it so you can see what we were working with. Home. So anyway, I'm going to get rid of that one and show you your new site. Ta-da! So this is, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see it. That's too far. So this is the new site. And this is a responsive site. So it works on all your mobile applications. And we've purposely kept it, the designers, we talked a lot about it and working with Mike, we purposely kept it very simple. So that, there's not a lot of flying windows. We don't have any of that because it's really your demographic and your constituents are all ages, but they're also in their seniors. So we wanted to make it super user friendly. So the first page is this is your home page, and we always have upcoming meetings all the time where this is going to be populated with visit your YouTube. And just to clarify, we're showing you what the designers have come up with regard to structure, functionality, that it's mobile, it works, it's responsive. But then as far as content and everything else, that's something they'll still be working on. So this is your home. Then you go to about and your mission. And we thought that we liked that photo for your mission because it shows you're out there doing stuff for the community and kids. This is your board of directors. And we purposely went and found photos of your facilities that you could showcase, because the interior pages will also have a caption area under them. We just they didn't have time to quite add that yet. And so, and then your event fund. So again, we're trying to showcase your properties. So this was a table setup that was done at the fairgrounds for Josephine's Redeemed Second Revival that you did. And then the process, we're also trying to use some humor, a little humor. The process is a long and winding path. And that is actually in Port Gamble. And so then under projects and facilities, you have a whole section that provides information about projects. Oops, let's see, hang on. I want to make sure. Oops, that's supposed to be 2 across there. So let me see what we're doing here. Okay, so let me just do. Okay, well, that's supposed to be, they were making some modifications at the very end, but this was supposed to be, because it's responsive. And so this is supposed to be 2 columns straight across, 4 up. And
Yeah, it was when you showed it to me earlier.
yeah, it worked. It worked great, didn't it, Mike?
Yeah. So we're not quite there on some things, but at least.
Well, exactly. And so there you go. I just had to refresh, sorry. So, and then these all click to their own pages about that particular project. And then, so they're and then in the right-hand column is also designed to have places to put your partners' logos and information. So like this would be Port Gamble, Kitsap County. And again, this is the photos selected were to demonstrate that this particular this project we think has a lot of potential, as Beth was saying, economic development, attracting mountain bikers from around the country and around the world to that new 3,500 acre park. And so here's the Port Orchard Event Center. Same thing. Everybody has a page to be able to tell their stories. The other thing is on the right side, it's designed also to have links that are this particular project. If they wanted to have links back to their website, to the city's website, developer, all of that's very, very easy to accommodate. So this is PERC, the PERC page. And then Port of Bremerton Circuit of the Northwest. And so that's the pages for projects and facilities. There's a lot of things, so it's very flexible. This is done in WordPress. So it was designed also so it could be very easily updated by staff or, subcontractor. So these are your meetings, all important public information. So I decided personally on this photo because I thought it is a type of meeting and everybody's having a good time. So again, it showcases, this is all the riders. This is for the Stottlemyre race that happened at Port Gamble in that ride park. Or in the mountain biking. So the first part of the page has your current meeting that's happening. It has Zoom links, everything else. But if you click on this, it takes you to another page that would provide the agenda. And then it also has a venue registration here with a pop-up. And the reason that we opted to do that is because this calendar and this meeting module will also allow you, if you wanted to promote an open house that one of your the projects were doing. Let's say they were doing an open house and you wanted to let people know that was happening and that, that they should go. You can also have that. So the venue can be in the event category. There's different event categories. There's board meetings, special meetings, open houses. So all of that can be easily accommodated. And then we have archives. And this is where you'll have all your archives to be able to, and all of this is in the process of being populated, but that it'll be links like that. And then up here under news and PR, we're still working on this particular page, but this will be a list of, publications, and then you can click on it and then it'll take you to that particular page for that article. So, and we thought this picture was great because it's the kids at a ball field and, they're talking good PR about the PFD. And so this is your contact page. And it has there's a direct link to the executive director, phone numbers, and then also though if somebody wants to submit comments, etc., and that'll have some other catch on it. So there you have it. So this is your YouTube. So that's your basically your new website. So do you have may I answer any questions for you?
Thank you, Patty, for the presentation. Board members, questions?
I think it looks
prettier than the last
amazing.
one.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
I agree. Looks great. Do we have a YouTube channel, or are we creating content?
We actually do.
Okay.
Well, much of the content will be transferred from what's on the existing website, so we don't lose that legacy part of it. We may recraft some of that or restate it to be more current or more applicable. But there will probably be new content ordered as well.
And also just so you know, the way that the site, because it's WordPress, we requested that designer provide various modules, types of modules, so you can have 3 photos across. You can have this photo. You can add a large photo on the top. Let me see under Kitsap Conference Center. So it's really like there you can add a different kind of a photo. So that's really flexible depending on the needs of or what elements you want to communicate for each of your various projects. And then it's very easy to add project pages to that as well.
So I have to learn WordPress or find out if I can make updates in WordPress sufficiently to maintain the site, or whether I need the assistance of Chris Blair and his group to do that. I could supply input and they do the actual update, but hopefully I'll be able to do some or most of the updating. I've kept the current site updated. I've been working with websites and updating.
All right. Any other questions from the board?
Just one technicality that I noticed on our current website, and I can't see if it's included on this one, but we probably should have a privacy policy.
Oh,
a privacy policy? Is that what you said, Tom?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there's under process, we can very easily add under about, that would be definitely where we just simply add a page that just said, privacy policy, sure. That's definitely want to do that. And that
Yeah,
would
thanks,
be
Tom.
with boilerplate. So it's really easy to do, to add those elements.
And when will this go live?
When will it go live is the question?
Oh, it will be at least a month or two before that goes live because we do have the rest of the content to add to it. Patty will be gallivanting around the United States starting what?
Thursday.
This weekend, right? So I'll be working with Cinnamon and Chris on some of that content. Patty may be able to consult from the road. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay,
maybe
be
when
that way.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Well, thank you for your work and thanks for presenting it. And let's move on to item number 6, financial reports. We are pleased to have Susan Veach with us tonight. And so as we look at the report, it'll be a time where we as a board can ask questions to make sure that we understand these reports. Can we bring Susan into the meeting? And
yep, we can do that. Hold on just a moment.
thank you, Susan, for joining us. Why don't we do this for a format? Would you give us kind of an overview of the 5 pages here that we get each month for our report? And then after you give an overview, we will, ask the board if there are any questions.
Why don't you let me get the sales tax rebate page out of the way first, because that doesn't relate to the other reports. Okay. We received $144,000. There it is, $739, a 9.5% increase over last year. And again, the largest amount we've received to date in the month of March. Remembering that goes back to the actual month of January when the sales tax was collected. Our debt service, as before, just under $70,000. Our expenses around $14,000. And the net cash from the month of March was another $60,800 and change. Any questions about the sales tax rebate numbers? If not, now, Susan, do you want me to put the our financial reports back up for you?
Sure, that would be great.
Okie dokie.
Probably the easiest if we're all looking at the same sheets at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the budget performance screen.
Okay. So on the budget performance report, in the past, I tried to do a budget performance on the whole thing, but we really only get budget numbers on fund number 968. That's where all of our transactions are taking place as far as bills that we pay, anything that we're, any of our obligations that are being sent out. So at the beginning of the year, I get a budget from Mike, which I assume comes from the board, and I program that in so that we know what we're looking at over the year. And so what I've begun presenting now is just for fund number 968. If you look at the very top of it, I'm having trouble seeing exactly what Mike has on there. It's kind of little, but what this does is it says, all right, the current month, in this case, in
Mike, why don't you blow that up a little bit just to make it easier both
have
for
been
Susan
paid,
and
money
us?
we've expended, and it breaks it down.
Well, I wanted to show the whole
Pardon?
page because that's what you guys look at.
Sorry, Susan, we've got a bit of a delay back and forth with the Zoom. I had asked Mike to make the font larger so that you could see it, and people who are viewing it on the meeting can see it as well.
Okay, that sounds good. So if you scroll up just a little bit, Mike, I want to just show the headings so that you can see what the 3 sets of columns are all about. The first set of columns is the actual activity in the month of March compared to the budget for just 1 month, and then how we compare there. The second set is for the year to date and what the year to date budget would be according to the numbers that we were given. And then the third set of columns is our annual budget and how much is actually left in that budget after this far in the year. So it's just a breakdown so you can see where we are. Are we in line with the month? So if we look, for instance, at the, let's go to the website. Let's just scroll down to the website or telephone, Mike. If we look down at the telephone, number 5421, we see that there's $206 was spent in March. The budget for 1 month is $208.33. The year to date, we're at $756.66, but the year to date budget is only $625. We have $2,500 in there for the whole year, so we have another $1,743.34 to spend to be within the budget. Now, it looks to me like there's been a change in the cost for the telephone since we set up this budget. So I would, just as my 2 cents, I would suggest that mid-year we do an adjustment so that if some things are more, that we adjust the budget to make sure that it's organic and it's actually representing what we have. But that's only for an internal management. If this is something that's been submitted to the state or something, then of course we can't do that. But this is meant to let us know where we are on everything we've expended. The things that are spent out of Fund 977 and 286, those are things that are more interdepartmental. It's taking money from our...
Hey, Susan, can you hang on? Can I ask one question about the first page that we were just looking at?
Sure.
So up at the top, Mike, on the revenue section, under current month, under March 21, so scroll up just a little bit more. So it's all zeros for actuals, yet against a budget of $19,750. Can you explain what the revenue number is made up of? And
the money that comes into, and Mike, you can explain this better than I can.
Yeah,
the money that's coming into 968 are transferred funds in.
Yeah, those
so
are not,
it's money that's
not,
being transferred in from our other income sources.
Okay, so the reason there's zero is we just had plenty of operating funds that month and we didn't need to transfer any?
No.
There were already funds in that account, so we didn't have to transfer any more in to be able to cover it.
That's the 180,000 that's in the January through March column. Basically, I preload the budget with the approximate amount that I think is going to get spent. The annual budget's 237. We typically don't spend all of that, even though it's budgeted. So I preloaded this with approximately what I think we're going to spend. If there's an adjustment that needs to be made made in the last quarter of the year. I may add something to that in order to make sure that we finish with a little bit of money in the pot when we get through the end of December.
That's an
Got
excellent
it.
question.
And does that transfer in from 977? Where do we pull
Correct.
it? Okay.
Yeah, it's not a monthly contribution from what we receive from the tax rebate. We have the reserve, the cash reserves in 977. And typically, as I said in the beginning of the year, I preload the 968 fund with an approximate amount that I think it's going to take us through the year.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay. Are there any other questions on the budget part on what that form is trying to tell us? Oh, scroll just for a second more there, Mike. I apologize. I want to see the.
Excuse me, Susan. I was just going to make a point for future reference when doing budget. If we're going to budget, and that's something that we can control in this 968, that we're going to have income of X dollar amount, that we should probably reflect that in the budget.
Yeah, we've had an excess of income over what our operating expenses for literally most of the 12 years that I've been in charge of managing this, even during the worst of the recession in 2007 and 2008. We still had enough income coming in to pay the debt service amount and still have enough to cover our expenses. We did reduce expenses during that time, but we've never missed a debt service payment, and we've always been able to cover our expenses. So yeah.
Can I ask a question, clarification, John?
Sure.
Are you talking about having a budget for 977 as opposed to just showing it for 968?
Possibly. I'm just going to say that if we're looking at it in 968 and we know that we need X dollar amount for our operating budget and we divide that by 12, that should probably be what we're moving each month as well.
Oh, okay.
Budget's a plan, right? That's what we plan to have for income. And when we have variance to plan, we can't see that accurately on this document, correct?
Yeah, and we can do that. And essentially the other reports that Susan can explain about is the funds that we manage. And part of this is derived from where our money is held by the county. Since we don't have the funds, we don't possess them, we don't have a bank account where the money is held. It's held by the county, and it's in three major funds. The 286 fund is actually a county fund that when we receive the sales tax rebate every month, the county automatically deducts the amount to cover the debt service and puts that into the 286 fund.
Yeah, I think we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
When I look at a budget, that's something we can control, right? And so if we know that we want to front load 180,000 in January, we should just put that in 180,000 in January. That way we know when there's anomalies.
It is in there.
Okay.
Go back up to the top, please, Mike. That's what I thought you might be saying. So if you look at the second column, I posted it into the budget in February when the money was transferred by Mike. This 180,000 that's in the column there under transfers in. All of that money, that 180,000, went in during the month of February. So the reason there's nothing over in March is he didn't transfer any more money, but it is showing there as the actual transfer in income at 180,000 in the second group of numbers. So it is there, but it was transferred unevenly. So I don't have a place.
That's my point, that if we know when we're going to transfer that, it should be reflected unevenly in our budget as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't have a,
The year-to-date budget number would include that 180 already, and we wouldn't have a variance.
Correct. That's
right. That causes some problems to change the budget here in the way that it's actually coming across, because then it doesn't balance with any of the county reports and it doesn't balance with the other. I can split that up though if you want it. It'll just be an artificial splitting, and then our bottom numbers aren't going to match the rest of the financials, just so that we know it would be uneven.
Yeah, I think we already approved a budget. I'm not asking for any changes currently. It's just for reference.
Yeah, I do want to reiterate what Susan just said. These reports are derived from the county reports. And the county reports are multi-page, convoluted, not necessarily every account that we would like to track. There are multiple charges in, for instance, the 5419 other professional services. Not only does the
I don't think that's the issue here. I don't think the county gave us the budget, did they?
No.
Okay, that so like when we say that we're going to spend
the
X
board
amount
approves the
on
budget
the phone versus what we actually spent, I'm saying that should be reflected for the income for our budget for future purposes as well.
Can I summarize here? So what I understand John to be trying to say is, instead of having us a 0 in under March 21 in that first column, that every month we would move 19,750, the same as what we have budgeted, rather than Mike arbitrarily putting 180,000 in at the beginning of the year. Is that accurate?
Or it's 50-50. It's either do it that way, or we reflect that in January we front load with 180 in our budget.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Have it just post that if we're going to bring it in on February 17th, February is the only place that it has a budget for it. I can totally do that.
Correct.
Yes, I appreciate that clarification. Absolutely.
We approved a budget, going into the year, and we need to have an accurate reflection of where our money is going, and is it going as we had directed through that budget.
Okay. At the time that I receive it, I don't know when that's going to happen. So that'll be a communication point for Mike and I to make sure that I know when he's going to do that. On the others, I split it evenly across the year because I don't know, when it's going to happen when I get the annual budget. But definitely I can change that. I can update that very easily within our system. Thank you for that input.
Yeah, let me
show something at the very bottom of that form before you go forward, Mike. Can I show it down here at the bottom? Okay, so after we have like our regular net income, I have a net change to liabilities that I put in at the bottom of the 968 that shows anything that went to pay a liability from a prior period, so that this number, the 968 in cash balance, that ties back out to the checking account balance. So I try and take the profit and loss and tie it out to the checking with beginning balances and ending balances on most of these forms. And but that's what that adjustment, the 15,404, those were liabilities at the end of the year that were being paid in this year, and ties out to the checking account. So go ahead, Mike. Go ahead and scroll down.
Yeah, I wanted to reiterate that this is derived. Come on, here we go. Actually, it looks better over here. The 286 fund, the 968 fund, and the 977 fund are all funds that are in the county. That's where our money resides. That's where our transactions occur. If I want money in 968, I transfer it out of 977, which is the general fund or the holding fund, and put it in the operations fund. Yes, it can be done monthly.
So on this form, sorry, but so when the forms that I presented, this one, the financial revenue expense is like a profit and loss form, but for a not-for-profit, you'll see that there's a line there for January 1st, the beginning cash balances in those accounts, and the money that has been come in and gone out, and our net income is there, but then we tie out at the bottom to the ending cash balance at the bottom of the screen. I'm trying to tie the forms together at the request that I had earlier from the board. And what this is, my purpose for this summary is so you can have a snapshot that's a little bit easier on both the profit and loss and the balance sheet, which I think we skipped over. And then if you have more questions, I have a more detailed one that I supply. It's the same numbers, it's the same things. It just gives you more detail of what's in each of the categories. And that's the purpose for having the multiples, because one of the biggest challenges with the way that we get the information is that boiling it down into a readable document, even when it's pretty disseminated, it can still be a little bit unwieldy. So I like to give an opportunity for a snapshot. Okay, where are we with our LTGO bond fund? Where are we with operations, and where are we with the holding funds? And we used to have 3 or 4 more accounts that we had to use that had different pots of money, that they have shrunk it down into just the 3. So we've reformatted everything so that we can see it here. But Mike, can you go up just one screen?
Yeah,
to the balance
while
sheet,
I'm
please?
doing that, I'll mention that I had requested from the county to add more funds so that we could track the money deposited for funding projects and the way it's being dispensed, and show that on these sheets. But as she just described, the county said, no, we're going to reduce the number of funds. And so we want you to take out the ones that you already have in there, which were the funds for the other 3 existing facilities that we use to manage the funding for improvements, expansions, whatever it was with the individual projects. So we had to take all of that out or delete it from the county's financial system, and we're left with just the 3 funds that we have now. And I've worked with Susan, and she set up the funds where we can track our expenditures.
Actually, can you go to the next page, not this one? I'm sorry to interrupt. I want to look at the one right after this.
And just for time purposes and
Right
efficiency, let's let Susan just be the director of the conversation and respond to the questions from the board directly.
Okay.
Okay.
So can you show me the rest of that, the top of this one that you're on right there? Right there. Okay, so the statement of financial position and by fund is the equivalent of, it's a nonprofit equivalent of a balance sheet. And this shows us the money by fund, where the money is being held, how much is in each account, and what the liabilities associated with just that fund are. I have it broken through. Can you scroll down just a little bit, Mike? So I can see the bottom of the form there, just a little bit further. All right, there we go. And then it shows all the liabilities, and then everything is being held in an equity style account. Then I balance that back out by putting in what our January 1 beginning balances were, what revenue and expenses have happened, and our current ending balances that tie out to the accounts up above, so that we can see where the money's from. Did we have some money in holding before we came into the year? Did we expend everything? Are we transferring money between the different accounts if we compare the different periods of time? So those tie out to the numbers above. There was some confusion in the past with what those were, so I've added those to hopefully make it tie back together a little bit.
Hey, Susan, let me ask
yeah.
specific. So this is really helpful for me because I've gotten to the point now, the bond fund. So, okay, I know we don't really have $5 million, but I look at, this current ending balance. So will you explain what the bond fund represents and the 2021 revenue of 209,000, is that the total income from the sales tax rebate year to date, or just really what I'm totally confused.
Actually something that Mike would need to explain because he knows that in more detail than what I do.
Well, then we'll go. Okay, we won't do that one. We'll do that when we're not tying this on the phone.
I can say that it's other governmental funds. So those are funds that are coming into, those are correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but those are the proceeds that are coming in from our bonds, the income that is being added during that period of time. Each month, that's $69,873 that comes into the 286, and that's what makes up this 209 right here.
Correct. There's $70,000 each month that's put into the 286 fund in order to pay the debt service. In the middle of the year, there's a principal payment. And then at the end of the year, at the beginning of December, there's principal and interest accumulation that's paid. $850,000 for the year typically. So this accumulates at $70,000.
And it is an interdepartmental exchange between 977 and 286. There's some cross-reference on all of those.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at that, for best to describe it for folks, and I've done some fund accounting at another board I sat on. If you look at the total assets, 8703 minus our liabilities of 3808, technically, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Susan, we have about $4.8 million in the bank that we could spend today.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, actually, we have more than that because the revenue, we started out with 4.8 and we've had transferred in income of 209. So we're at 5,033. So
he's actually getting the 4.8 out of the total column for total equity and the total funds.
That doesn't include current month.
Oh, well, if you're taking out the liabilities, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And that doesn't include current month. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a quick snapshot of that, correct.
Yeah, I don't pay any attention to that because that's a sheet balancing number. There are not $5 million in our accounts anywhere. The net cash that we have that we can do projects with or whatever is the 3.5 million in the 977 account. This represents equity in the investments that we may have made with the 286 fund, but we don't own any of the buildings that's related to. So,
okay. So we'd have the 3.5 plus 150 that's still in the 968 that you transferred over that we haven't spent yet. Okay, let's go ahead.
There's also $250,000 reserve that the county asks us to keep in case and that number is right up here in the 286 LTGDO bond fund liabilities. That's the reserve that we keep separately from the rest of the cash that we have.
Okay. Are there other questions on that, or did we make it more complicated?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and
I'll save my last one here.
Did you say you had another question, Patty? Erin?
No, we'll keep going.
Okay. And on any of this, I just want you guys to know that if you ever have a detailed question that you'd really like to know, even before the meetings or something, call me and I can take you right through the accounts with the detail without it being kind of this lag time here. Okay, so this is just a more detailed view of the statement of financial position. So this is another balance sheet view, but it gives you a lot more information. All of the numbers are the same, so I don't tie everything out at the end to the beginning and ending balances. It's just a straight financial document, but it lets you see more detail within each of the different categories of where the money is, because there are some sub-accounts and different things. It shows all the moving through the custodial accounts and the liabilities, and ties out directly to the other one if we're in the summary form. But I've tried to keep the totals the same color on each sheet, so that it's always the 286 fund is always the yellow number. The 968 is always the salmon color, and the 977 is the green, just because it gets to tie them out to know which numbers you're comparing and which ones you aren't. Go ahead and scroll. We can come back for questions. This is just the profit and loss the same way. You can see the 968 has all of the information, all of the detail in the midst there. But each of the columns has their, are you pointing something out to me, Mike?
Yeah, I was trying to point out that this is the area in which we'll see where the expenditures by project will be. So there's Port Orchard, City of Paulsbo, Kitsap County Parks. We'll add the fourth one for the POB/CNW as that begins to come in. But that's in this detail sheet where you'll see the expenditure on projects.
There were some challenges with those funds last year in the way that they were recorded in the county reports, and I didn't catch it right away until Mike brought it up to me after one of your meetings, that they were putting it up in the codes for the 968 and not in the codes for 577, so it was appearing in the middle of the budget for the 968. So this year we have it's more consistent. We have everything in the same place, and I know where they're putting it now. In the beginning, it was a little bit jumbled, and I apologize for that. But we do have this section in 977 now that has all of the details on those projects. Are there any questions on all of this?
All right. Go ahead.
Just one more, and I think it just occurred to me as you were saying, the money actually gets moved between accounts quite a bit. So now I'm realizing I'm seeing I'm answering some of the questions I had. So like the bond fund on the revenue side says other intergovernment services for $209,000. I was just about to ask you where that's from, and then because you just told me, looked at the bottom of 977. And that's where it came out of, line item 5520. So the money all goes into 977, gets split out into 286 and 968 as needed. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Let me go all the way back to here. And that's where this shows up. We receive the $144,739. As soon as we receive it, the county takes this $69,873 and puts it directly.
So wait, let me ask the question right there then.
Pardon?
Mike, do we book the 144,739 and show the expense of the 69,873? Are those both coming out of 977?
The 144 is going into 977. The 69,873 is coming out of 977 and going into 286.
And going.
And the expenses
Debt service
come out of 968.
Okay, got it.
Then the net to cash goes to or stays in 977.
Stays in 977. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, Mike, you don't send out the general ledger, do you?
No.
No.
I provide on my spreadsheet, my workbook that I send out, there is a detail of every in and out transaction that has taken place for the year to date as of the financials, so that you can track some of those back and forth. You can see where they are. It's a big document. It's hard to print. It's little teeny font, by the time we get to it. But I can send that anytime.
Yeah,
Because
John or Aaron, if you guys want to see it, you're welcome to it.
I read way too many general ledgers. If we have questions, we'll call you, Susan.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's just I know that we're getting a general ledger basically from the county, but the reports are not easy to read. They don't have, they're just not in a real financial statement format, and they're kind of unwieldy, which is why we put it into this format here so that we can read it a little better. But I do have an Excel version I export it directly from our QuickBooks into Excel so that it can get to Mike easily, so he can see, hey, this is in the right place, this is in the wrong place, or especially when on the accounts where we have A, B, C, and D, underneath the county's putting everything in one spot, and then I'm splitting them into what they are. And if I misinterpret what one of them is, Mike looks over that general ledger and catches that. And so I have it in that format and can send it anytime.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Susan, thank you so much for taking your time to come and explain this to us. That's very helpful. So thank you for that explanation.
Well, I appreciate all the work that all of you do.
Thank you. Let's move on to 6B, the blanket voucher. Mike, would you put that up so that we can see it?
So in just a moment. Okay. Back here. And we'll go down here.
All right, so this is the blanket voucher for this month. Can I have a motion to approve it?
So made.
Thank you, John. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Phil. Mike, will you scroll down just a little bit more so at least I cannot see the total on the bottom?
Sure.
With that, is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Blanket voucher has been approved. Moving on to 6C, the project vouchers, Port Orchard invoice for $20,628.28. Can I have a motion to pay this voucher or this invoice?
So made.
Thank you, John. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Aaron. Any discussion on this? All right, all those in favor say aye for approving this voucher. Thank you. Any opposed say nay. All right, the Port Orchard voucher invoice has been approved. Now to the Paulsbo Perk invoice for $10,868.75. Can I have a motion to approve this voucher?
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Walt. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Phil. Any discussion on the Paulsbo Perk invoice? All right, then all those in favor of paying this say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? All right, the Paulsbo Perk invoice has been approved for payment. All right, let's move on to item number 7, ongoing business. I would direct all of you to read the activity report of the ED as well as the regional facilities reports, which were referenced earlier to show that some of the facilities are indeed beginning to be used again. And let's move down to item number 8, which is our executive session. And at this point in time, the board is going to go into executive session as authorized by RCW 4230.110, 1G, to evaluate the performance of a public employee. The executive session will end at 7:30 is the time that we will put down, 7:30 p.m. And at this point, all of the board members should be able to go to the other Zoom session and leave this one. We'll see you there.
See you, Brian. And you're muted.
There I go. I am back. Yes.
So everybody's coming back? Yep. Mike, we're back, gonna be back on, so you can start recording.
All right. Nice job, everybody, of getting back so fast. Would someone help me? Is there correct language that I'm supposed to use as we re-enter into the regular meeting at this point?
Just got to end our executive session.
Yeah, the executive session is completed. And our regular meeting resumes at this point. The first item that I'd like to have us take action on as we come out is a motion to amend the employment agreement for our executive director, Mike Walton. Can I have a motion for that?
I'll move to.
Go ahead.
I move to approve.
All right, thank you, Aaron. And then a second.
I second.
Thank you, Walt. Now, any discussion on that amendment? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Or any abstentions? All right. The motion to amend our executive director's contract has been approved. The second piece that I wanted to have us discuss tonight as we finish the meeting here is that as we continue our search for a new executive director, we will be putting out an RFP through Kitsap County in agreement with them. But for the committee that will receive the submittals from the different different search firms that might be interested in that position, who would be willing to serve on that committee for us?
I will.
Thank you, Tom. Is there anybody else who would want to? I think a group of 3 would be good.
Darren, I've got a trial that's supposed to go in Pierce County at the end of May. If it doesn't, I can help, but I don't want to, I can't commit right now because the next 3 weeks are not going to be fun for me.
Okay.
I'll join Tom.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, John. Is there anybody else who would like to? I can sit on it as well, as far as to have the chair on it. But if there's anybody else who wants to, well, actually, yes, I will do it because the proposals are going to be the submitted anyway. They will submit their letters of interest to me. So yes, my name should be on it. So I have down Darren, Tom, and John as that subcommittee that will hear that. Is there any other discussion on that?
I'll make the motion because I think.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I'll make the motion that we create the formation of a selection committee for an RFP to retain a new executive director.
And for the executive search firm to help us find the executive director. Is that
this is not the committee that's going to choose eventually executive director.
No, this is to choose the executive search firm. That is correct. So thank you, John. And then someone willing to second that motion?
I'll second
that.
Thank you. I'm going to go with Pat. He beat you to it, Walt, by a half second on my screen at least. And so any discussion now after that motion has been put forward? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And any abstentions? All right, motion passes. Tom, John, and myself will serve on that committee. All right, is there any other business that I have forgotten about or haven't brought forward that we intended to do this evening?
Nope, not that I'm aware of, Darren.
All right, thank you, Mike. In that case, the meeting of the Kitsap Public Facilities District is adjourned. Enjoy the rest of your evenings.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome, Darren. That's my job, man.